afternoon. We're learning. We get it. We pick it up. Anyway, before I go on, can we take a brief moment? And I want to thank all the people who prepared our food, who serve our food, and who make sure we have food. I know we've recognized the elected officers, we've recognized all the candidates, but as was mentioned earlier, none of us get here alone. I like to say I got where I've gotten because I've rode the shoulders of many other people working very hard. All the volunteers, all the people who make a difference, who knock the doors, who make the phone calls, who talk to folks on the street corners to ensure that we elect Democrats up and down the ballot. To all of you, let me just say thank you for all you do to get us there. Now, before I get to impeachment, I want to talk a little bit about, emphasize what Jan said. This is the most important election in our lifetime. At the risk of perhaps being a little bit dramatic, nothing less than the future of civilization on our planet is at stake in this election. But it's true because how we respond to climate change is at stake in this election. How we respond to the threat of nuclear proliferation is at stake in this election. And both of those issues are existential threats to civilization on this planet. That's why it's so important. But I also believe that the future of liberal democracy, small l, little d, is at stake in this election. Look at the people this president aligns himself with: Vladimir Putin, Erdogan. You can run down the list of folks he hangs out with, and every one of them is threatening liberal democracy as we have come to know it. This election is about assuring that the alliances that we've relied on our entire lives are restored, are strengthened, and that the security that we've come to take for granted, now understand that it's at risk, is something that we can count on for our future and our children's future. What's at stake in this election is nothing less than the future of who we are as a country. What kind of country do we want to be? One that brings people together from around the entire planet? To quote of all people at a Democratic luncheon, to quote Ronald Reagan, who said, "It doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like, what your upbringing was, you can come to this country, you can raise your hand in an oath," as Jan and I had the privilege to watch on Thursday as 126 people from 40 different nations joined together in unison to become citizens of the United States, and you enjoy every single right, every single hope, every single aspiration that all of us have as Americans. That's what we're fighting for in this election. So I won't ask everyone to raise their hand again, but let's just make sure that the oath we're taking today is the oath to elect a Democrat to the White House, because that's what's at stake. Now, the way we do that is through the election. It's knocking on those doors, it's making those phone calls, it's getting the signatures on the petitions. Please don't leave without signing our petitions. But the way we take back the White House is by winning the election. Impeachment's about something altogether different. Now, I'm an engineer by training, but also by personality. I like process. It's who I am. And that's why I believed in the process set out by our Constitution and the idea of the separation of powers. That's why I argued so vociferously to allow Robert Mueller and his team to finish their investigation. I expected that investigation would lead to a conclusion, but for whatever his reasons were, and I follow his logic, I just don't agree with it. The Mueller report didn't come to a conclusion in Volume 2. It left loose ends on 10 possible paths of obstruction. So it was to Congress to follow the Constitution, to follow the process, to hold its hearings, to execute its constitutionally empowered authority and prerogative and responsibility for oversight. But the administration stonewalled, the administration blocked any type of testimony before Congress, and that's why, Bob, in August, I came out and said we need to raise the bar by going to formal impeachment inquiry. But that all changed, and when I tell you that it changed just 3 weeks ago, it's hard to believe it's only been 3 weeks since President Trump and his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, took to the airwaves and said, "Hey, we pressured Ukraine." to investigate Joe Biden. We've come to learn a lot more about it in the 3 weeks since, but at that time for me, it was clear. This president has put the national security interest, the foreign policy priorities of our nation, subordinated to his own personal objectives and political ambitions. That to me is an impeachable offense. That's why 3 weeks ago I said we need to move even further and begin drafting the articles of impeachment. Now, I don't know what they'll say. That's the investigation we see taking place right now. And until we see what they are, I don't know if it's something that we will move over to the Senate, so that Senator Durbin and 100 other senators will sit as jurors when the president gets his deserved day in court. But I am a guy of process, and I believe we need to go to this process. The issue with Ukraine, distinct from the issue of the Mueller report, to me is in a different lane and at a much higher level. It is not just the abuse of power. It is the misuse and misappropriation of the government for personal gain, putting all of us at risk. And we see that in what's happening around the world. That's why I'm confident in my colleagues. I am grateful for the deliberate and deliberative process you see taking place. I am hopeful that we will see more people like Ambassador Yanonovich, who defied the president and said, I must speak out. We cannot allow this president to deem himself above the law and not follow the process to hold him accountable to the law. That is separate from the election. We will remove him from office in the election. I don't know what will happen with the impeachment. This is one of the most somber and solemn decisions as a representative any of us have to make, but we owe it to our oath to the Constitution, to our pledge, to who we are as a country, to hold this president to account. So that being the uplifting part of the afternoon, let me now shift gears. I have had the privilege of representing the 10th District now in my third term, but going back to 2013. In my first election, it was somewhat of a long shot. No one had won the 10th District as a Democrat since 1978 in Abner Mikva. The odds were against us. I know I got where I got to because of the help of people in this room and thousands of others like you. But one of the first conversations I had was a call to our Senator Dick Durbin. And he said, Brad, do you have a fire in your belly? If you don't have that fire, you shouldn't be doing this. I thought about it, I said, yes, I do. I have a fire because I want to make a difference. But part of that fire comes from inspiration of others. And one of the people who has always inspired me is our Senator. Because he's expressed that fire by fighting for our whole state and for our country. In representing our state, he has risen to the #2 spot in the Senate. He is someone who is highly regarded by all of his colleagues, and when it's time to bring the delegation from Illinois together on an issue, we meet in his office and we follow his lead. He is someone who I am proud to call our senior senator. I am proud to live in a state that he represents. I am proud to be part of a body of the United States Congress that he leads. With no further ado, it is my honor to introduce our senior senator, the senator from Illinois, Richard Durbin.